Hi, this is Mr. Evans. This video is going to look at sole traders. So we looked last video at the difference between limited and unlimited liability. So just to remind you, unlimited liability occurs when the owners of a business are responsible for the total amount of debt of a business, which applies to sole traders and partnerships. So the owners are entirely responsible for all of the actions of the business, including a business's debt. And I showed you this. There is no difference in law between the business and the business owner's personal assets. So if something goes wrong with a sole trader, the bank can, whoever wants to, if the business is found to be liable, the owner of the business could lose their personal possessions. So that is one of the main disadvantages of being a sole trader. Let's have a look at some of the other pros and cons of being a sole trader and define what it is. Well, a sole trader is an individual who owns and runs their own business. It is unincorporated and therefore has unlimited liability. So what are the advantages of doing this? Why would someone set up a sole trader if it could be highly risky because your personal possessions are at risk? Well, first of all, it's quick and easy to set up. You can start operating as a sole trader immediately. You don't need permission from anyone. You don't need to get a license necessarily unless you're required to do so because of the industry you're going in. So it can be cheap and easy to set up as a sole trader. You can just start trading. The owner gets to keep all of the profits from the organisation. You don't have to share it with anyone else. You get the sole responsibility for decision making, which can be, so you get independence, which can be very motivating. Your financial records are going to remain private, which might be important to some people. Okay, you obviously have to record your the money that you make through the business with the HM Revenue and Customs, the tax people, but you don't have to publicly publish your records as you do if you set up a private limited company or a public limited company. So your competitors don't know what you're up to basically in terms of your finance. And your motivation is likely to be very, very high because the success of the individual and the business are all one and the same. So you're likely to work really, really hard if you're running your own sole trader. You get to keep all of the profits. On the other hand, you do have unlimited liability where your personal possessions could be at risk if something goes wrong with the business. There's no distinction in law between the money that you have in your personal bank account and the money that you have in your business bank account. In fact, those bank accounts are one and the same. So your personal possessions are at risk should something go wrong. You're likely to have limited capital for investment. If you're just a one person starting a business, you're likely, unless you're very, very rich, to only have a small amount of savings. So you might need to find sources of finance from elsewhere. You're unlikely to be able to fund certainly a large business yourself. If I was setting up my plumbing company, Mr. Evans Plumbing, well, I might be really, really good at plumbing, but not very good at record keeping or finance or advertising. And as a sole trader, I've got to do all of those functions on my own unless I employ somebody else to do it. But at the leadership level, I might have a limited number of skills available, which would change if I had more owners. Finally, it might be difficult to find cover when I'm ill or want to go on holiday, although one common misconception is that sole traders can't employ people. So a sole trader can employ people to help run the business. It's just the ownership that lies in their control. So don't be confused. A sole trader, yes, we look at the ownership and it's a one-person ownership, but actually a sole trader can employ other people. So there can be cover when ill, although that won't be through another owner of the company. So they're the main pros and cons of being a sole trader.